Good morning, everyone. My name is Falade Banke. I am the brand and communications manager for Allbase Energy, and I'll be your host for today. To dive into it, our first speaker is Prince Will. He's a marketing specialist and a career consultant with several years of experience in high-growth startup, HR, and consulting and media organizations. He's the head content marketing at Optamil, an insurtech startup enabling insurance and non-insurance organizations to simplify access to insurance in Africa. He has also worked at Pan-African brands like Workforce Group, Ringier, Cool FM Nigeria, and has consulted for many others. He would be giving us the HR perspective to remote work. So he'll be giving us an insight into what companies are looking for, how we can, make our CVs more desirable to this company, how we can negotiate for a higher pay, and if you are currently working full-time or if you are currently going into the office, Prince will probably teach us how to start a conversation, on probably enforcing like hybrid work or completely working from home and all of that. So, Prince Will, are you ready for me?
Hi, Devante. Hi, everyone. Hi. Yes, I'm ready. I'm glad to be here.
Okay. So yeah, I'm going to put Prince Will on now, and then I'll come back, once it's done to, take the questions and answers if you guys have any.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you and we can see you perfectly.
Okay. So how do you want us to proceed, Banker? Can you?
How do I want what?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. We should start, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So great opportunity to hear and as well to start this conversation. So first question would be basically if you're looking for remote work opportunities, if you want to work remote or even you want to work hybrid, what are organizations looking at? I would say typically that organizations are looking for people that understand the problems they are trying to solve and also understand the solutions that they are trying to provide, either to their clients or whether it's in the B2B space or in the B2C space. They are just looking for people that understand that needs and then how they communicate to fit into the picture. For the larger part of it, what is really shaping remote work? You can look at the pandemic, you can look at the startup culture across the world. There are organizations like Talk to Us who they are driving so much conversation for businesses, doing a lot and being a fully remote organization. They don't have an office presence everywhere. And people are also, because of the pandemic, begin to say that, we can actually be productive working remotely. Now, for most professionals, one of the challenges when looking at, what would they do, what are these organizations looking for, is just looking at the CV or the job that has been advertised. And when you look at that, you want to look at, there are things that are non-negotiable. So, for example, if you're a salesperson and you are expected to deliver XYZ revenue, you are expected to do certain things as marketing campaigns, those things are not negotiable. But one thing that is key to remote work is your ability as a professional to be able to manage yourself. Now, a lot of people tend to focus more on time management, but one of the schools of studies that I believe in focusing a larger part of that on self-management, because you're always going to have 5 hours, 1 hour, 8 hours to deliver on a job. Yes, if you want to give extra time as well, that's up to you. But for the most part of it, you're only going to have that time that you need to deliver all these tasks, that you need to deliver value to your employer. So how are you going to rather focus on self-management? So if social media is a huge part of you not being able to manage yourself while working remote, you're going to have to find a way to deal with that to be productive. If it is you not having the skill set or not being in a place where what your job expects of you, how are you going to also fastly upskill yourself so that you're able to drive results? Let's not forget that business is always a business to make money, to make revenue. Whatever theory tell you they are trying to change life and all that, that's important as well. But it's basically revenue, basically that money, that inflow of money that will pay salaries, that will keep your investors happy, that will keep founders happy. So you need to look at that. Now, I had mentioned looking at the CV as your CV, as well as finding how to match what you have and what is being looked at to the company. But after looking at that, you also need to ask yourself, what other things can I deliver? So if you are a marketing person, you're maybe digital native, and I'm using marketing a lot because I'm a marketing person and I will have to kind of take my career first. But you need to look outside your purview, what you typically would do for an organization, and ask, okay, what else can I deliver? Where else can I be of value? If you do marketing a lot and there's an opportunity for you to help in other areas, it might be to reach out to partnership conversations for the organization. How can you provide value for that opportunity? So those are things that around what organizations are largely looking for. Now, for someone that is working in office currently, or maybe you want a hybrid situation, how are you going to have that conversation? One of the first things to do is to ascertain what would the organization need from me being in office, what will be the consequences for me, what are the things that I can support the organization do, what are the things that the organization can support me to do if I want to opt out of maybe being in office and my organization doesn't have that arrangement. A good way to start is if you have a manager, go to your manager and have that conversation. And I want people to always know that most of these things you have to build it out of previous deliverables, previous trust that you built on your own. Now, if you're someone that your manager doubts that you're able to deliver, you're not that person, starting this conversation can really be hard because it means that you're telling them that you don't take the organization seriously, you don't take yourself seriously. So you want to start from a place where you need to show value, you need to show results. One of the things that I really like about remote work is that it helps you not be able to just be in the office and everybody's seeing you and you're doing sort of face service to the organization, to your managers and to everybody, just doing activities. One of the things it helps you do is actually focus on the results that you are delivering and that you can deliver on the job. And once you're able to do that, people can begin to trust you more, can begin to say, okay, this person is not in the office, but I trust that if I said something to them, they are able to deliver. Even if it's outside that time, you can communicate and say, okay, I am not able to deliver this within this time. I am able to do it at a certain time, and then you have understanding. It's always good that you have that skill to communicate and over communicate. Going deeply into actually where to find remote jobs, one of the things that people do is to mention a lot of platforms like Indeed, remotework.com, and a whole lot of them. But one of the things I found that has worked for me is basically to use a lot of my social media. Now, I focus a lot on branding and having conversations and sharing my results. You typically find out that people in outside Nigeria on those platforms that you want to maybe go and look for remote work, there are a lot of trust issues out there for the country that we're in. Whether you like it or not, a founder somewhere that doesn't really have any experience about Nigerians and all they know about Africa is from the news media in their country, is not going to trust that you're a professional at that level. Now, one of the ways to do it is decide what your brand is. Decide what are the results that I am driving for my organization. How am I going to show this across my social media, across all your social media platforms? Because the truth is that you don't know who is looking at you. I've had situations where people have reached out to me from Germany. I've had situations where people have reached out to me from South Africa. And some of them are also off relationships of people that I have worked in certain organizations, or maybe some people have helped do something and they say, check this person out. And once you start to build relationships via networking that way, because if you even look at statistics across job hunting generally, you find out that it ranges around 76% to 85% that a lot of work that you get, you would highly get them easier when it comes from networking, when it comes from people recommending. So you need to look at your LinkedIn. What are you doing with your LinkedIn? A lot of people go on LinkedIn and say, oh, people are posting a lot of things. I get that it can really be frustrating, you not being that person, sharing those many results. And we know that on LinkedIn, people package a lot. Don't focus on that. Focus on yourself. I tell people a lot, don't focus on packaging. One of the things about packaging, I know it might be our local mantra, local language. With packaging, you're just trying to sell value that you don't have yet. And I've seen that across people a lot, because when they get to that place where they now have the opportunity, they are not able to deliver at that level. So one thing you want to do, the little results that you're getting, the little knowledge that you have, how are you going to share it? How are you going to keep it out there? Because the more you put yourself out there and see that, oh, I achieved this thing, it helps you now ask yourself, what other ways can I develop myself? What other ways can I improve myself? So that is really key. Brand yourself on social media, brand yourself consistently across Twitter. My Twitter and my Facebook has been really great to finding remote work, and people will say, oh, you did this, reach out to you. Ensure that the work that you do, when it fails, when there's success, share your learnings from it. It's really important. Like I mentioned, someone is really, really watching out there to see what you're doing. And as well, you can reach out to people. Cold reaching out and cold DMing people on social media is really important as well for finding remote work. And a way to do it is also to look at what value can I offer this person. One of the things I noticed that people reach out to you on LinkedIn, on Twitter, say, oh, I want X, Y, Z, and blah, 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 and they end it and they move on. If you want to achieve something, one of the best ways to do it is to have a long-term plan, have a long-term view at that thing that you want to achieve, and then get at it, with different steps. Okay, maybe do I need to create a constant weekly post on my LinkedIn platform to show that I'm a thought leader on this topic, and it might just be really one area. One thing again about thought leadership is it doesn't always have to be around the content or the things that you work with. So as a marketing person, you must not always share content around marketing and around the best metrics of marketing. How can you apply yourself as a content or a marketing person working in HR, working in fintech, working in the insurance space, to share your learning? Because people would look at those things. They will look at those things as benchmarks. If I bring this person on my team, are they able to do these things? Founders and also that support remote work are also looking at your profile online. I know a lot of us young Nigerians and young professionals in Nigeria do where we hide on our social media because we don't want to be seen on Instagram, we don't want to be seen on LinkedIn with our official name and our official conduct. But I tell you that it takes a lot for people to know you for what you do, know you for your professional life. You can have fun as a professional person. You should have responsible for on social media, because whatever goes out there also always will stay out there. And you want to be proud that you're putting something out there. It represents you both from the place of fun and as well from the place of your professional outlook. So you want to make the best opportunities of your social media. So those are some of the things, from my experience that, I have found remote job opportunities. Yes, use Glassdoor, use remote websites, use the likes of, Jobberman, is there remote work job opportunities on there, but pay heavy attention on your personal brand and on social media. People are searching for people. I can tell you that the last 6 months I've been involved in certain conversations with the company I presently work, and founders that I try to help hire for certain roles that I've had past experience. There's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of value for you to offer people out there. And it's just up to you to build out a strategy, build out a plan, to position yourself and communicate your value. So communicating your value is also about distinguishing yourself. What are the things that you stand for? How do you, because as human beings again on social media, you can't always do everything, but how do you disagree in a very respectful manner? Because these things can also build up certain things that people perceive from your brand. You need to understand that, because nobody wants to hire a chaotic person out there, and because that your brand will definitely rub off on the brand that you are going to work from. My last thought around this conversation is around ownership, and also for people that are not really tech people, or maybe really tech opportunities, but they don't consider themselves as tech people. How do you find a role in tech? So one of the things you need to work on first is you need to work on your ability to own things. I see a lot of excuses managing people, especially in the last 2 years, having to work remote with different organizations or hybrid in different capacities. So you give someone a task and they come and tell you that there's no light. Yes, I live in Nigeria, I don't have light at all. But there's a couple of things I can do. I can meet with a couple of friends or meet with a couple of friends that are in my area that also work remote. How can we contribute 1,000 naira or 500 naira and buy fuel, and let that be the solution for us to be able to deliver? You need to be able to not just, you're good, you know your job and everything. You need to take a lot of initiative for you to succeed as someone who wants to work remote, who wants to work hybrid. So when the founder or when your business lead sends you something and say, oh, I need this because I need to maybe do a report, or I have a presentation this morning, how can you take ownership and just deliver that thing within that timeline that is very hectic for you? Because like I tweeted on social media, remote work is an opportunity for you to deliver more. It's not an opportunity for you to do less and be hiding. More will be demanded from you. So work at your ownership skills, work at your self-branding, work at how you learn to work with things. People lie to themselves in not saying that, oh, I can't work remote at all. But I'm telling you that you are changing yourself, because on the long run, companies are realizing that they are saving more money having to work fully remote. It will not apply for every role. It might not be crystal for every organization. But this is a trend that, if you look at statistics everywhere, it's growing, it comes to stay. Different organizations will use things like hybrid and maybe find co-working spaces in different locations for their staff to be able to meet there and then have some human touches. But you need to start developing that skill and those abilities for you to be able to work remote. In closing, if you're not tech, don't rush that thing. One of the things is people do say, oh, I want to work in tech, I want to work in tech. I think you should take a step back and have a 12 months, 24 months plan. That's typically what I advise people to do. Identify your plan. What are the skills that you have that can work in tech? What is your job role in that non-tech organization? Identify the tech organization. Follow the founders. Read research in that industry. What are people saying? What are the typical challenges and problems that they have? If you're able to identify all that, you're also able to do a self-audit and be truthful to yourself when doing your self-audit about how you plan to go into tech. What are the things that you pay attention to? If you are just a HR person that has worked in typical HR organization and you're moving tech, do you understand how to hire developers? Do you even understand the headache of finding the right developer talent? How you can convince them? How can you structure your JD and define your workplace culture to be able to accommodate things like Gen Z that are coming that want to do certain things, certain ways that will not suit your traditional organization or organizational culture. So people need to constantly look at functional skills that they can adopt, how these things will be relevant. I think remote work is here to stay. You just need to find ways to start applying them. If applying yourself, if it's not currently working for you, because I believe that at some point you would have an opportunity, that might be a bigger career opportunity for yourself. And if you are not ready, you would be shortchanging yourself. Lastly, if you're planning to move from full-time role or from full-time remote back into the office, and maybe your organization doesn't have that plan, I would say don't do it. But if it's a situation whereby your organization also has a physical office location, I mean, it's an easy conversation to just reach out to your HR, say, hey, I want to be coming on some days, but make sure that it's not at any cost to the organization. There's a lot of cash funds out there. Companies are really suffering. Things are not as juicy as they were when it comes to revenue for a lot of sectors prior to 2020, prior to late 2019. So as professionals, we need to bear this in mind when looking for work. So those will be some of my takes around certain conversations. I'm available to answer any questions to specific. Thank you. Hello, Banker.
Hi, Principal. So I forgot to unmute my mic. So I was saying, thank you for the presentation. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that we learned a lot, especially around paying attention to our personal brand. I know some of us on social media, we just tend to, let go and let loose, and sometimes just post whatever it is we're feeling or whatever it is we're going through at that point. But with this, it's about being intentional. If you want to attract a company, or if you want to attract someone in HR space to look at you or to look at what you are doing, there's no way you can do that except you advertise. So use your social media to advertise what you're doing, in a sense, and to speak about your brand in the best light. So if you just got a promotion, it would be nice of you to put that promotion on LinkedIn. You can put it on your Facebook, you can put it on your Twitter. If you helped your company achieve XYZ, it will be good for you to put it on your social media so that people can see what you are doing, and people will be more likely to, want to reach out to you or to follow up with you, or to even want to do business with you, really. So thank you, Principal, for that. If you guys have any questions, you can just drop it in the chat box. I want to bring in the second speaker. Is going to be coming in about a second. So Principal, thank you so much. The questions, I'll read out the questions at the end of the second speaker session so we can just have everything together. Hi, Sulaiman. Good morning.
Yeah. Hi, good morning. Good morning, Adebanke. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very much, Principal, as well. I think just to piggyback off the last thing you said about, remote work being here to stay, I completely agree with you. I personally think it's the future of work. And I mean, how do I feel about remote work in general? It's the future of work because there's a huge gap in employment at the moment. And I mean, African Development Bank has stated that on an annual basis, 10 to 12 million youths enter the workforce. And I think only about 3.1 million jobs are created. And so this means there's a huge gap, to cover. And I think the importance of remote work is to connect local talents to, international opportunities. To talk about remote work in itself, it would be best to draw from my own experience. And so, to provide some context, I started working remotely January 2020. I got a job with a small startup company in Ghana, Accra. And the beauty of that was, I got to work remotely. However, when the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown came, there was a need for me to sort of find other opportunities online because, it disrupted a lot of businesses and I had to earn an income. So I tried Freelancer, I tried Upwork, struggle to get projects. I'm sure this is something a lot of people face, but after a while, after a lot of trial and error, I started getting, projects and payments. And, that also even led to getting offline clients. So what I mean by that, outside those platforms that I've mentioned, people would reach out to me, like offline to see if I could do some project for them. And I think, until today, I work for a remote company. I also get a lot of, projects outside my company as well that I support, different companies with. And so the way I look at remote working, I would say is more from a practical point of view, because if you go online, you would find a lot of articles, of people, with their own suggestions and everything. And so today I'm going to talk about the way I see remote working. And there are two ways. The first one is there's a freelance aspect of remote working, and then there is the working for a remote company aspect. Now, in terms of the freelance aspect, you need to view yourself as a marketing tool, or as a, you need to be able to market yourself. And what I mean by that is, so you need to be able to do a lot of work on, marketing yourself. So what I mean by that is, how do you leverage your strengths? How do you package yourself, your CV, and things of that nature, such that, people, they're able to see what you're offering in the first place. The second one is, you need skills. So as much as everyone feels like they have a service to sell online, I think you need to have specific skills that can also sort of show some credibility, because it's easy for anyone to say, for example, I can build a business plan for you, when you don't have any skills to show that. And I think it's easy to get skills. Like every day, I'm sure everybody gets emails from Coursera, of a new skill or a new course that you can register for. And so you need to leverage this type of online platforms and get, those certifications. And then thirdly, you need to build a portfolio. So if you want to be a freelancer, you have to have a portfolio which shows the easiest way to build a portfolio is building, so I always say this, either you do pro bono work for people, so you do free work for people so that you can actually add that to your portfolio, or you can actually build it on your own. So you can, if you build websites, for example, you can build 3 sample websites and you add that to your portfolio. And then finally, you need to identify the platforms that you would actually be able to position yourself. So I mentioned Freelancer, Upwork. There's a lot more. There's TopTal. There is, if you go online, you'll find so many platforms, depending on the skills that you have to offer. Now, on the other end, having spoken about freelancing, so working for a remote company is slightly different. So most times people think, to work remotely, you have to either be a developer or someone who's into graphics or things of that nature. But I can tell you, so I do management consulting. I help businesses develop strategy and things of that nature. And, I can say for a fact that, people, even engineers, architects, they also get to work remotely. And the best way to do this is by, you need to identify companies, first of all, mostly international companies, because in Nigeria, you don't really, not so many companies are comfortable working remotely. And so you need to start looking outside Nigeria. I don't know how everyone feels about that, but, looking at the African landscape, looking outside Africa, right? A lot more companies are, comfortable working remotely, and they don't have the talent that we have in Nigeria. And so, you need to look out for those companies. I also think, you also need to look out for startups. I say startups because startups are much more smaller companies, and so they can't afford to actually get you to sort of work in an office. Some startups don't even have an office, right? I know Kuda Bank, for example, they didn't have an office until last year or so. And so most of the people who work for Kuda Bank work remotely, because the startup, now they have raised so much funds and they've grown bigger, but I'm sure a lot of their employees still work online. Then you also need to be able to, apply. So most times people are, I don't know if people are afraid of applying, but people feel, if I apply and I don't get it. But I always say, look, you don't lose anything from applying. So when you find these companies, apply. You need to follow these companies on LinkedIn. Look for people who are on LinkedIn as well that you can follow, so that they can also let you know if there are openings in the companies. Now, having said that, I'm talking about the two ways remote working. I understand remote working. There are 6 soft skills I think everybody here should have if you're even going to consider working remotely, because working remotely is equally as difficult as working, on the ground. So going to the office, doing a normal 9 to 5. And, without these skills, you really can't do it. The first one is, communication. You need to be able to be comfortable communicating to anybody in a clear, logical manner. So what that means is that, first of all, if you're going to be freelancing, you're going to be working with people from different parts of the world. So you need to be comfortable speaking to them. And secondly, you need to also ensure that whatever you're saying is clear and concise. Secondly, I would say is discipline. So most people feel because they're working from home, they can choose to wake up at any time, close the day at any time. I think that's a very, very wrong misconception. I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I have to wake up by 6, 7. And, for some people, that's the time when they're going to work. But I don't have that time. I have to turn on my computer and start working so that I can meet tight deadlines. And most times I'm working all the way to 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. It's not as, it's not easier than working traditionally. I think the only difference is you don't have to leave your house to go anywhere else. And so you need to be disciplined such that, if you decide to if you decide to do work, if you have agreed to do work at a certain time, then you have to stick to it. And the third skill, which leads me to my third skill actually, is planning. So you need to be able to also plan effectively, especially when you start handling multiple projects where your attention is needed, in all the projects. You need to have a plan that you follow religiously. As I said, it's discipline to follow that plan as well. And the fourth thing is entrepreneurship drive. So if you're someone who, you don't see yourself being an entrepreneur, so what I mean by this is, being able to sell goods and services or market yourself, all these things I've mentioned really, working remotely will be difficult for you because by entrepreneurial drive, this means that you're someone who is innovative. You don't give up easily. You're willing to solve any problem that you encounter. So like Prince Will said earlier, if you have power issues, it shouldn't be the problem of the client. It should be your problem and you should look to solve that issue, within that time, right? So what I mean by this is, no one is saying you have to go get, a generator or something, but you can find somewhere where you can work remotely from that has constant power. For example, I know someone who works from their church, because they know there's constant power in the church, there's internet in the church, so they might as well leverage that resource. So you need to be entrepreneur. You need to have the entrepreneurship drive. You need to be up and doing. You can't just sit down in your house and say you're going to get a project. You need to be able to go around and meet people. And this leads me to my next point, networking. So you need to be able to network. Like I said, I get a lot of offline projects, and that's because I worked on projects where I was able to network with other people. Also show them, my skills and, what I can do, prove to them that I can do the job. And so when they see that there's another project that they don't have capacity for or they need a team for, then they reach out to me. Networking works offline and online. So by online, LinkedIn is my favorite website out there. You can connect with people from different parts of the world, different companies. Even on Freelancer, sometimes when you don't get a client, it doesn't necessarily mean you've not won because, fine, they don't give you a project, but you can sort of keep the client in your contacts. There are a lot of clients like that where I say, look, if you're not giving a project now, you can give me a different project in the future that I believe I can support you with, So that way there's a relationship. And some of them do come back. And then working offline, try to attend conferences, webinars like this, where you meet other people who also work remotely. You can sort of share your skills with them and if they need a team for a project, they can reach out to you. I know that in the past I met with someone who is very good with financial models, and so if I have a project that is someone that we need someone who can build financial models, reach out to that person. And finally, the last skill is you need to know or learn how to get paid. And I think this is one of the most important ones. By say learn how to get paid, first of all, you need to learn how to negotiate, so that you're not negotiating to your own, or rather at your own expense. You're covering all your bills. If you have people who you employ, you're able to pay them as well. You need to also have sort of like payment platforms that you can receive payment, because we're all in Nigeria here, or maybe in Africa, and something we realize is, to receive payments, especially from international clients, is often difficult. So you need to find ways. There are different platforms out there, like Skrill, Payoneer, Nutella. So you just need to go online and find a platform that works for you. If you're working in Nigeria, yes, you might, we don't have the problem of how to receive payment, but to ensure that your client pays you, because something from my own experience, some Nigerian clients, they get the job and they don't want to pay, maybe because they think, okay, it looks too simple for me to pay this person off. So something you want to do is, before you even start the project, you can have an initial agreement where the client pays you a percentage upfront, and then when you do the work, they pay the balance, or they pay you in different milestones. So you need to get creative about how you get paid. So I believe with these 6 skills, you should be able to survive, the whole freelance remote working landscape. Having said that, I think that brings me to the end of my little talk. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Like I said, this is based on my own experience, and I'm happy to connect with anyone here. Thank you.
Hi, Solomon. Thank you for your presentation. You actually didn't give me a chance to do like a proper introduction. So I'm going to take that now. So Solomon is a management. So Solomon is a management consultant looking to solve pressing challenges in emerging markets through exploring technology solutions. He works as a growth associate at Africa Foresight Group and has been actively involved in business development activities for the organization, including conceptualizing programs, identifying potential partners, and developing winning proposals for projects. He has also demonstrated strength in managing fast-paced, multi-dollar projects, driving impact-based initiatives, and developing strategies to solve complex problems. Thank you, Solomon. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that we learned a lot. So I want to go back to some things Solomon and Prince will touch on, and that is power issues for those that have power issues. Please, I sell solar inverters. So if you want 24 hours power supply to be able to work on your project, or when you're working remotely and you need constant power, yes, I'm your plug. So I'd like to go into questions now. Some people already dropped questions, but I think one thing I would like to ask Lemon and Prince Will, because I know a lot of people I've spoken to, they always tend to want to have 2 jobs, especially when they're working remotely. So I want to know if it's advisable. So Simon, from your own angle, I know you touched on how tasking it can be working remotely, but is this something you have done? Have you tried to handle 2 jobs, one fully remote, one on site, and then I'll come back to you, Prince Will, and to get your feedback on that as well.
Yeah. So personally, I wouldn't advise anyone to do it, because if you think about it this way, you can't also balance 2 jobs that are on the ground. Now, because it may seem like you have to be in the office presently to get the job done, and so this time around you're at home. But if you think about it, it's more about hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, like I was saying, if you look at it, it's more about, I lost my train of thought. So to take it back a bit, right? So I was saying you can't balance two jobs at the same time, even though they were both offline. One is online, one is remote, because most times it's about the working hours that matters, right? So on one project, you've agreed that you're going to be working from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then on the other project, you agree 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. How do you then deliver to the clients? Most clients want to check in every day to see the progress you've made, right? So if you're going to be balancing a project, how do you then meet up with the client deliverable? It's better to not disappoint two clients than try and balance the stuff. But however, now sometimes like I said, I have multiple projects. However, there's sometimes where on the project I'm part-time. So what that means is that I've agreed to work 3 days in a week for that client, and another project I'm full-time. And so what I do is that full-time, that means Monday to Friday. So 3 days in a week, I could say Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm going to work on the part-time project. And most times the part-time project is often a supervisory role, right? So I'm not actively doing the groundwork, but to supervise what other people are doing. So that's one way to, balance multiple projects. Another one could be you are on a full-time project and you have, allocation for a break, maybe a 2 weeks break. And so during that 2 weeks break, you could also accept another gig. But I wouldn't advise anyone to, balance two projects. I hope that answers your question. It'd be great to hear Prince Will's thoughts on that.
Yes, I really want to hear Prince Will's opinion on it.
Can I get the question again?
So I was asking if you would advise, how people want to have two jobs. So they are working remotely in one and they probably take another one. So they have two full-time jobs because one is remote. So I was asking if it's advisable and what you as an HR person feel about it.
Okay, so I would say yes and no. And the reason I'm saying yes and no is, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so the reason I'm saying yes and no is it's all dependent on your deliverable. So like we had earlier mentioned, if one of those roles is the consulting role, again, say you're a marketing person and you're consulting remotely for this marketing organization. Maybe you've done this fantastic project marketing for the current brand that you're working, and they just want you to come in and look at maybe the content, the strategy, and the whole flow of them being able to deliver that project. And it's not really brand in competition with your brand, because again, some of these things you need to look at legal angles of them as well. So say you work in Nigeria and this brand is a non-competing brand from Ghana, Nigeria, or maybe in Germany or the UK. So it's a consulting role. It's something that you can schedule the meetings for the weekend, Saturdays and Tuesdays, Sundays, and come in and look at what the team has done, look at how to optimize their campaign. So it's basically an advisory role. If you're working full-time, say you're working full-time remote on a job, and this job requires you to produce a certain amount of deliverable, that you know that these are things that you can collapse maybe during your weekend and be able to knock them off 10 days and it's approved and it goes out with a certain level of automation. So let me give you an example. Say you are a content writer and you need to write 2 or 3 articles for a brand, maybe bi-weekly or weekly, and you're able to deliver this content using your night and your weekend. Yes, there's going to be burnout, no doubt. But if it's something that you want to do, maybe either because of the money, either because you want to grow your experience, or you just want to launch out into the deep to again expand your experience. So you dedicate those time. Again, it's all about knowing yourself, knowing what you're capable of doing. You're able to do that, test it, see if it works. What would happen typically is you just go on their blog and schedule it for the particular day that has been agreed, and it goes out seamlessly. For certain roles, I would say no, because again, you are not able to do certain things at certain areas. Also, for certain positions, when you get to certain places in your career where money is not a problem per se, and when I say money is not a problem, it's not because you are not to collect what you actually you're actually worth. It's because of the value you're always going to provide for an organization. They are obviously always going to pay you good. So one of the things you look at is, am I able to deliver 100%? if I don't give 100% of this project, is it going to affect my integrity? Is it going to affect for me to be able to build on that relationship? And you will say no. If people reach out to you to insist that, because of your experience, because of your, and you said no, one of the things you can do is go for advisory roles. You're not really involved in, at a certain level, in creating whatever it is you're creating. You are just advising. You're just looking at what they're doing and saying, okay, you can do this better as a consultant. You can do this better. You can do this better. Then you can take that. I know that a lot of developers, product people, and marketing people, some of them do 3 jobs. It's crazy, but at the end of the day, I would say, look at yourself, look at where you are and where your career is. If you're going to senior executive roles, I would really advise that you shouldn't take double jobs. What you would do is take advisory roles where you are advising the company on what they can do. Definitely, they will pay you on your time basis for that, and that's some ways to manage them. But if you're really at the early stages of your career and really want to push yourself, please knock it out of the park, test it. For the second job, be open that you have certain expectations, maybe on your full-time remote role or on the one that is major role, so that it helps you manage expectations. I've done that also in my career. Someone wanted me to be able to develop certain content for them, and I told them this won't work for me because I have certain things. And they kept insisting, okay, we can do certain things now, we can do certain things. And we agreed on certain things. So what I did was, every weekend, I would block out about 3-4 hours. I'll be able to develop whatever they wanted, send it to their team to finalize. They handle the publishing and everything. And that was how I personally managed that kind of situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Prince Will. So the next question is for Slimon, and it has to do with, this one is from Jude, and it says, how do we negotiate payment and enforce global best practices on remote working? Prince will have a question for you, but that will be after this one.
Okay.
So Sulaiman, how can Jude negotiate payments and enforce global best practices?
Okay, very good question, Jude. So, I mean, when you say enforcing global best practices, are you referring to payment as well? Just want to be sure. What type of best practices are you referring to?
So hi Solomon. So not necessarily payment related, more like working conditions, around ensuring that if I do a job, they're not coming back like 5 million times and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. So I would say, like I said, this look at it more like from the angle of entrepreneurship, right? There's a little bit of risk to it, and what that means is that so if I were to work with a client offline, now talking about Nigeria, the client, we've agreed on terms, probably even get them to sign an agreement or an MOU. What you find is, in some cases, they don't honor the agreement, right? And so they could still choose to do what they want to do. So I think that's a risk involved. However, if, like I said, so if you're able to tap into your network and you get that client through your network, then it's easier to sort of compel them to agree to to whatever they have signed. But I would say it's a bit of a risk. Now, the best way to mitigate this risk, and this is something that's worked for me, first of all, is you want to use a platform that has very strong terms and conditions. So, for example, Freelancer, the terms and conditions is pretty straightforward. If a client, goes against any agreement you've had, they can, terminate the client's account and potentially even transfer the funds to you as a person, So that's one. Secondly, before you even engage the clients, you need to have sort of like a standard terms and condition of contract that states all your own requirements there. Now, I mean, if you have someone who is a lawyer or, I mean, a friend, you can even find something online, find a template and edit it. The most important thing is that they have signed to agree on the terms. Now, there isn't a standard terms and condition, out there. I think it's dependent on you, the freelancer, and the client. So, for example, I once worked on a project with someone in India, and if you know the time difference between India and Nigeria, I think it's about 5 hours. So, what would happen is, or rather, the way we agreed to work was, so I pretty much started working by about 9 p.m. our time here in Nigeria, and I stopped working by maybe 3:30 a.m. in the morning, right? Now, that's because I'm trying to meet up with his own time zone. And so I mean, if we're going to talk about in general terms, that doesn't make sense. Like when I say it doesn't make sense, it's excess, right? But because the client and the freelancer has agreed on those terms, we have to work by it. Having said that, now talking about payment, so I always say this, like always try and put your best foot forward. Most times people struggle to balance between not trying to scare the client away and also making sure they get paid the right amount that they deserve. Now, I mean, in terms of scaring the client away, one thing you should try and do is before you start talking about payments, show the client what you can do for them, either by showing your portfolio. Sometimes I even sort of do like a first draft of the work that the client wants to do, just to show the client that I know what I'm doing. And so when the client sees that, this person is the right person for the job, one thing I can tell you for a fact is that they most times they would want to work with you, like regardless of the price, like, or they would want to negotiate with you. But if you haven't showed the client what you can do and you haven't sort of won the client over, and you start, talking about price, the client would walk away. So that's one way to eliminate the whole client walking away, is make sure the client, or make sure you sell yourself such that the client feels like they can't do the work without you. Now, in terms of negotiating what, a good fee. So first of all, you have to let the client know why you are charging them for something. So for example, someone could come to me and say, I want to start a business and I need you to help me come up with a business plan. And I can come up with a ballpark figure and say, okay, well, this business plan will cost $500, for example. Now, that in itself is working to my disadvantage, because one would feel, well, it's just one business plan. Why are you charging me for $500? It's too much. But if you break it down, say, well, business plan, I will do strategy development. That's $100. I'll do financial modeling. That's another $100. I will do documentation and visual graphics, $150. I will do editing and reviewing, $100. So now you've broken it down so that they know exactly what you're doing and what you're charging them for. Now, best thing to do, right? This is the final, just the icing on cake, is when you're done with your total, you now say discount 5% or 10%, and you take out 10% from the total. That way, they even feel like you're giving them at a price that's favorable to them. So that, I mean, these are some tips and tricks that I use when I'm negotiating with the client. Another thing too you need to do is to now determine how much is reasonable. Something I used to do, so benchmarking, I will go to Upwork, go to Freelancer, speak to people, and find out how much they are actually pricing their services for. Because it wouldn't make sense for a freelancer to be charging $2,000 for a business plan and you're charging 10,000. It's a no-brainer. So maybe you would want to beat the freelancer's price by saying, okay, I'll charge 1,800. So, once you benchmark the price, you now have to, first of all, give a price that's competitive. And also, you don't want to give a price that's too competitive. And what I mean by this is that if someone is charging 2,000 and you go and charge 1,000, some clients may feel like the quality of work you're doing is not as good as the other person, and they will rather go to that person. So it takes a bit of practice, finesse, and experience to really harness your pricing and negotiation skills. I hope that answers your question, Jude.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
So Prince Will, the question I want you to answer is actually from Ladi. Okay, more like a question and a comment anyway. And it says, or I don't know if it's a he or a she. So it's from social media, we will find remote jobs. And the how is inbound. So the person is asking, how do we find remote jobs since the remote jobs are not finding us? So I'm guessing maybe the person wants you to walk them through how to position themselves. Or Ladi, if you are here, maybe you want to
Not position, find. Position is
maybe
to attract, find is to attack.
okay, so Prince Will, over to you.
Okay. So with attacking finding, being actively finding, so it will be important for you to look at it. What is my role? So if you're testing that you have experience, you understand what companies are looking for, what value you can provide for them. So prepare your LinkedIn profile, prepare your CV to fit the context that of the industries or the particular companies that you want to reach out to. Now, my typical thing is that you should focus more on early stage startups. And the reason I say early stage startups, especially if you're looking for fully remote work, is so that you look at founders that are looking at value. You also need to understand that if you're looking at early stage startups, it means that will affect some of the things around your salary. So you can reach out to them via LinkedIn. Besides, because I had earlier mentioned that 60 to 85% of jobs that are online that are found are typically done via LinkedIn. So you can't always go on the platforms that they've advertised and all that. Sometimes it's typically they have spoken to their network. So leverage the network that you have. If you are an already experienced professional, one of the things that I advise people in their careers is for everywhere you work, try and build relationships within the organization and outside the organization. So if you are working in the advertising industry, who in the advertising industry, maybe in leadership roles, beyond your organization, have you built a relationship with that you can reach out to, hey, I'm looking for this, and they will be your eyes to other people, because I can guarantee that other people reach out to them for things that might not interest them, that might not be at their level, and they can pass that down to you. So you can identify sponsors like that if you have about 5 of them. Some of them, you might not need them directly, but you have to build that relationship for a long term. I see you mentioned 1 to 2 months. The truth is that it will have to be a thing of luck, or you have built it over time for you to achieve that under 1 to 2 months. I've seen people do it in 6 weeks. I've seen people do it under a month as well. It's possible. But all I'm saying is you would have built that relationship over a period of time rather than just reaching out to them. So I also identify founders that have some form of about to launch, or they have money that you can reach out and say, okay, I noticed that your startup needs this. I have this skill. This is what I think people are doing now, but this is how I think that you can drive better results. See if they are looking for opportunities to hire someone. Now, some of them again might not have money to pay you the salary that you want. Now, what can you go for? Can you go for equity, whereby maybe over the next 1 year, for you proving your results in the organization, they can now pay you equity maybe in your year 2. There are different ways to have that equity discussion and the percentage that you want. But typically, if you're just going to be relying on, when the job is advertised, you apply with a whole bunch of people, even if you have the right CV, even if you do well at interviews, there are so many things that can knock you off. Someone might not like your face, because we are humans, and human beings are very, very biased. I can tell you that when it's also why data organizations and top consulting companies just don't rely on interviews to make decisions for their clients. They have to go using technology and data even after interviews to make certain decisions, because you walk into a room and you just something with you and the CEO click. Maybe you support the same club, maybe you listen to the same kind of music, or maybe they just like how you smile or your aura, and that's it, because you've passed other aspects of the interview and you've gotten the job. And maybe someone else that was there for the interview, maybe the final 3 or final 4, was even more experienced than you, but they hired the person that you want. So you always need to look at networking from online. The reason I also mentioned online not a lot is looking at what is happening in the world right now, there's COVID, so you really can't reach out to a lot of people. But if you identify the sectors that you're in, you can identify who are the top leaders, who are the business leaders, who are the people that, if I look at my profile, that are connected to these people, that can introduce you to those people. Where are they having events that you can attend? Where can you come into conversations of value for them? I have looked at someone's website in the past, and this was like during the pandemic. I had left a job that I was just not doing anything for about 6 weeks. I stumbled on this person's site, and it was a really shitty site. So what I did was, I just looked at against AI and I said, I think you can do this better, and I think you can do this better. And I just reached out on LinkedIn. She didn't respond, but I saw an email, and I copied the email, and I sent an email. It took about 3 or 4 days, and the person responded, asked for my number. We had a conversation. I was excited. Oh, you're able to do this. How can we work together? I'm like, I'm not looking to work. But what happened is, I just got paid for just doing that. I wasn't the person that went on to implement it or do anything. So you need to look at different ways to come from a place of value, not saying, oh, I want job, I want save, and it's not about always what you want. It's about you being able to come into that mix of value that you can provide to the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Prince Will. So I want Sulaiman to also add to this. And another question I have for him is, what tools do you use to communicate with your team, the ones that are abroad? So what's, I mean, another question, or the proper way to phrase this question, what software would you recommend?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think Prince Will covered pretty much everything I wanted to say. I'll just piggyback off his last point where he said it's not really about what you want, but what clients or the employers want. And I just want to add something to it. So you sort of have to also be flexible. And what I mean by this is, we need to be able to evolve. I see that, for example, you say you do marketing, but the truth is that if you go online, most people are not really looking for someone, for example, a traditional marketing guy, and so what branches or aspects of marketing is in demand? So maybe SEO, for example. I know SEO is something I see a lot. There's digital advertising, things of that nature. And so I would just say, if you're in any field, I think we need to start looking at the future, right? So, let's leave what's happening on the ground alone, but think about what's happening online. What kind of services are people looking for? If you're into website development, what is the next big thing in website development? How can you learn? How can you have an edge over other people? Because trust me, there are a lot of marketing guys out there, but there isn't a marketing guy, for example, who has experience with communicating impact, right, for NGOs. And so that marketing guy has carved out a niche for himself, and they can work with NGOs or all these other non-profit organizations, in communicating their impact. So I would say try to carve a niche for yourself, and you explore everything. Prince Will has said, and you should get jobs online. Having said that, to answer your question, Adebanke, I think the tools for communication is also very relative what the employer or client wants. But I mean, to mention a few, I would say some employers are comfortable with WhatsApp, right? I've been in teams where we created a WhatsApp group. The employer said, they're not responsive to emails, and so we use WhatsApp. In some cases, we use Microsoft Teams. I don't know if anyone else is familiar with Microsoft Teams, but Microsoft Teams would allow you work on live documents and things of that nature. Sometimes people use Zoom for communication. But when I work with clients on Freelancer and Upwork, the platform, my go-to platform is Google. So Google has so many features. They have Google Meet. Now for Google Meet, as someone who's a freelancer and I want to incur very little cost, I don't need to pay for any enrollment fee or anything of that nature. It's free and I can have unlimited time. I also use Google Drive. So Google Drive is to, in case when you're working on a document, is to ensure that the client can also see the live changes that you make to that document. So I think Google has a lot of features that you can also leverage. But I would say, I think the overall goal is to make sure you're minimizing costs on your end if you're going to be using any feature, or any platform rather. And I hope that answers your question, Banke.
Yes, it does. Thank you. So before we round off, I want to know if anyone has any other questions. It's already 10, it's already past 10, 10:15. So if you have any other questions, you could quickly type them and then we'll take them and then we close, because I know a lot of you have to go back to work and all of that. Any questions or comments? Thank you, Prince Will. Prince Will just dropped a couple of sites for those that want to find jobs. We just dropped a couple of sites that you can look to for remote work. So yeah, so if you have any other questions, you might want to drop them. Yes, I will actually upload the video on YouTube, on the Always Energy YouTube page. Video will be uploaded there. So you can always watch after and you can always share with people. Oh, also for Sulaiman, a question around, you know how when you work in a physical location, you always have, there's always these bonding sessions you have with other members of staff. So how do you do that working remotely? Or how are you able to achieve this digitally?
That's a very good question. So sometimes I think even just saying working remotely, sometimes we need to change it to hybrid because in some cases where I can travel to the place, I've had to actually go and be physically present with team members. In other cases, there are so many ways that we can do team bonding online. So, Zoom parties, you have brainstorming sessions, we have retreats, online retreats where they've curated like an agenda, there are different activities for every team member to participate in. You'll be interesting to see the different types of activities they have outside. There's even been like someone just said Figma jam sessions. So I think that's people have come up with a lot of innovative ways to bond online.
Oh, thank you, Sulaiman. So another question then, final question, and then I go. So how do you maintain morale? I know, for me, I'm used to having and walking up to someone if I have a question. If I'm not feeling up to it sometimes, I know that there are people in the office that can probably cheer me on. How do you manage to do that working remotely? Because there's really nobody you can just, turn to and just like have a chit chat session with. So how do you manage to keep your morale, and working remotely?
Okay, so I'll give a quick story, not to waste time. When I started Freelancer, my first gig ever, I did the job for about 2-3 weeks, and I submitted the final deliverable to the client. Person disappeared. They didn't pay me, right? And that was my first gig ever. So I felt really bad at that point because I felt, I'd wasted so much time and I didn't get paid. The person took the work away. So I started looking for more jobs, and by the way, it took me about 3 weeks after joining Freelancer for me to land my first gig. I had done everything I was supposed to do. I'd gotten all the skills. done all the exams on Freelancer, built my profile portfolio, ticked all the boxes. So it took me 3 weeks to get the clients that was also going to cheat me. Then after that, I got another client who, he was worried about the fact that I was Nigerian. And so he pretty much priced me for nothing, right? But I had to go with it because, I wanted to build more experience. And so I did that job. I got very good comments and feedback from the person. And the person referred me to another client. And by the time I had about 3 feedbacks on my profile, I started getting gigs easily, right? So what am I trying to say? Look, especially someone has just said, being Nigerian is a burden of phone. I'll say you just have to stay resilient, right? So resilience is very important. Resilience and consistency. What I mean by this is never give up, right? No matter what happens, you just have to continue going. We can all sit down here and tell you that, we can all sit here and tell you that, oh, it's easy to get a job online and everything. But the truth is, we have probably gone through hundreds and hundreds of applications to get to where we are today. There was a time when I was, working strictly on freelance and Upwork. In a day, I would do about 50 proposals, just applying. I had formed a standard method of, doing this proposal. So it was easy for me to, apply. And now today, I don't apply anymore. People come to me. So honestly, it's resilience and consistency. If I'm being honest, this isn't for you. If you need someone to motivate you or who will, sit you and tell you that you can do this, because there's no HR, you're your own HR, you're your own legal, you're your own IT, you're your own everything. So just stick to the normal traditional way and you have those people in place. Because if you're working remotely, then you have to just be resilient.
Thank you so much, Simon. So before you go, do you have any last words for everyone on this call?
Last words would be continue networking. I think this is a very good opportunity for everyone to, meet and get to know each other. We can all connect on LinkedIn. There are always opportunities. People are already plugging in their CVs. That's something good to do. You should have your own website. Let's just continue looking to improve on ourselves and hope to connect with everyone here at some other point.
Thank you so much, Simon. It was lovely having you.
Thank you.
Prince Will, do you have any last words for us?
Okay, yes, I would say, like Suleiman has said, if you feel that being remote is too much, try and find a community that you can join. That helps as well. Having people that, it might be a Slack channel, it might be a WhatsApp group, it might be a group on LinkedIn or on Facebook, professionals like yourself, who understand the challenges that you can always send messages to. Leverage your personal relationships, people in your corner that you can always go to when you need to run. They do understand for the sensible ones, they will understand and that can help you. Know that this is something that is here to stay. The more you develop yourself, the more you build your resilience, the better you become at things, the better professional you become. Always know that building a career is not a sprint, it's a lifelong journey because I've seen people retire even after 60 and they still have a career, they're still providing value for a lot of organizations. Yes, someone is saying that being in Nigeria is even makes it tougher, but that's the reality. But the truth is that, if you look at design spaces, engineering spaces, there's been a lot of great feedback for them because they've improved being professionals. They've improved actually delivering on value to organizations abroad. And I feel that we professionals in other spaces, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in sales, whether it's customer service, whether it's in management consulting, you can do better by, being a top professional, always seeking to deliver value. It will not come easy. I know there was a mention about international standard. I think one of the things you can also look at is with every company, if it's a company you're trying to work with abroad, try and get things around their registration and all that. What that can help you do is you can email, I think it's the home office or labor office or something. I know I've had this experience with the German company who wanted to play a fast one and all. So you can send an email in that case, in their case, and someone will reach out to you and then reach out to the organization. So there are different ways to manage every challenge that you can face, whether working remote for a company or working remote as a freelancer. People have done it and they're successful. Your case will not be different. Just keep at it, keep building yourself, keep asking questions, keep networking people. It gets better really from there. That would be all I would say. And thanks to all these energy for bringing us here and having this important conversation. Thanks.
Thank you, Prince. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining this conversation. Thank you for driving it. Thank you also to Slimon. You brought in a unique perspective as you have, been working remotely for about 3 years, I believe. So it's good to hear from both of you from the HR perspective and also from someone who is currently working remotely. I'm sure that, I speak for everyone when I say that, we have all learned a lot. So once again, my name is Falade Adebanke. I am the Brand and Communications Manager for Allbase Energy. Allbase Energy is a renewable energy company. We provide comfort and productive outcomes for our users by providing clean, affordable, and reliable energy. So we have a solar inverter. It's an all-in-one system. It's a 3 kVA system, all-in-one system. People that buy it, I don't mean to brag, but people that buy it, have always given us positive reviews. This is the first of many series. We really want to, so at the core of all we do is that we want to make people as productive as they can be. And that's why this productivity series is important to me and to the company as well. There are so many people in Nigeria that are, that want to work, but some people just don't know how to go about it. And I believe that tapping into the remote space and into the remote working sector is one way that we can close the poverty gap. So thank you all for joining. This video will be available on YouTube, Allbase Energy. You can, I think I'll also put a link on LinkedIn and on our Twitter as well. Thank you for joining. It's 10:25. I didn't think that we'll take this long, but thank you all so much. I hope you learned a lot. And till we see again. Bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Wonderful day, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.